Good day, my dear friends. Today, I invite you on a journey of introspection and awakening, guided by the gentle wisdom of the Buddha. Have you ever noticed that a single painful event can somehow grow in your mind, casting a dark shadow across your thoughts, your emotions, and even your sense of hope? The Buddha taught us that it is not just the event itself which harms us most, it is how we magnify that pain through our reactions. This poignant lesson emerges vividly in the teaching of the second arrow. Picture a moment when something unfortunate happens, like receiving difficult news or facing a sudden setback. That is the first arrow, the unavoidable pain of life's challenges. Yet, instead of letting that initial sting pass, we often shoot ourselves with a second arrow: our own anger, regret, blame, or self-judgment. This second arrow, born from the stories we tell ourselves and fueled by anxious thoughts, amplifies our suffering far beyond the original wound. The Buddha compassionately reminds us that while we cannot always prevent the first arrow, we can certainly learn to disarm the second one. When we fail to see the second arrow for what it truly is, our own self-inflicted turmoil, we risk allowing negativity to rule our days. Our minds, once peaceful, become cluttered with worries, resentments, and regrets. Yet Buddha's wisdom calls us gently to recognize these illusions and release them. We do this through mindfulness, compassion, and deep awareness of our moment-to-moment experience. By pausing to observe our emotions without judgment, we begin to notice when the second arrow is taking shape, threatening to intensify our pain. Instead of allowing it to pierce us further, we can breathe, center ourselves, and choose a response grounded in kindness and understanding. Remember the second arrow, an image of how we often needlessly amplify our own suffering, and resolve to let go of it before it inflicts unnecessary harm. You are far more powerful than your fleeting doubts or regrets. As the Buddha lovingly taught, the seeds of peace and freedom lie within your mind. Awaken to this truth, and you will find yourself walking a path of clarity, resilience, and genuine happiness, no longer bound by the wounds of the past, but liberated to embrace the infinite possibilities of this very moment. My dear friends, allow me now to share a deeper perspective on how each of us can break free from the shadows of our past. In the Buddha's compassionate teaching on the second arrow, we uncover a crucial lesson. Life's inevitable hardships form the first arrow, but it is our own response, our fear, anger, and fixation on past hurts that constitutes the second arrow, intensifying our pain. When we cling to old memories, regrets, or grudges, we imprison ourselves in suffering that no longer needs to define us. Instead, the Buddha gently reminds us to see these thoughts and emotions clearly, to release them from our hearts and minds, and to embrace each new moment as an opportunity for renewal. Imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to let go of the burdens you have carried for so long. Perhaps there is a past mistake you replay in your mind, or a resentment you harbor against someone who once hurt you. By allowing these negative energies to linger, you surrender your power to something that is already gone. The moment you realize these burdens live only in your memory, you awaken the wisdom to set yourself free. The Buddhist teaching is simple. Release your grip on the second arrow, and you are no longer wounded by it. This letting go need not be complicated. It begins with a quiet acknowledgement that you deserve peace more than you deserve to remain trapped by regret. Compassion, especially for yourself, becomes a bridge to healing. When you bring kindness to your own thoughts and feelings rather than judging or resisting them, you loosen the chains that keep you bound to the past. Through this process, you reclaim the strength and clarity you need to address life's challenges with a calm and open heart. Now, I invite you to take a tangible step toward liberation. Right after you finish listening to this message, find a quiet place. Close your eyes gently and take 3 mindful breaths, inhaling positivity and exhaling tension. With each exhale, envision the second arrow slipping from your grasp, freeing you from the unnecessary weight of old fears and grudges. Let yourself feel that sense of release, that openness of spirit which arises when you no longer dwell on what has already passed. Remember that your life is too precious to be defined by yesterday's mistakes or sorrows. The Buddha lovingly assures us that transformation is possible in every moment. Trust in this truth. Believe in your inherent capacity to grow and transcend your past, and step forward with renewed energy, letting compassion, mindfulness, and wisdom light your way. My dear friends, let us journey deeper into understanding how we can truly free ourselves from the burden of the second arrow. By now, you have heard how negative emotions like anger, fear, and regret can multiply our suffering far beyond what any initial event might inflict. In this part of our exploration, we will uncover practical applications and genuine stories that demonstrate how the Buddha's gentle wisdom can transform our daily experiences from a place of strain and conflict to one of inner tranquility, self-awareness, and compassion. First, let us reflect on the Buddha's compassionate teaching. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. This statement illuminates a key insight. Our mind holds the power to shape the quality of our life. When you train your mind to recognize and release unhelpful thoughts, you dismantle the second arrow before it causes unnecessary harm. Conversely, if you allow negative thoughts to linger and grow, they can overshadow your entire day or even your entire perspective on life. The choice, as the Buddha lovingly reminds us, lies within your own heart. To bring these teachings into reality, we must cultivate mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying full attention to the present moment without judgment. In practical terms, it means pausing when stress arises, breathing slowly, and observing your thoughts with curiosity rather than reacting impulsively. Imagine feeling overwhelmed by fear or anxiety, then taking a gentle pause to acknowledge your feelings. Instead of fueling that negativity, you breathe compassionately, letting the tension dissipate with each exhale. Suddenly, you reclaim your peace, stepping away from the destructive cycle the second arrow once created. When practiced consistently, this simple act of noticing and releasing can radically reduce your emotional turmoil. I recall a personal moment when I allowed the second arrow of worry to dominate my day. I had received some troubling news in the morning, and I spent hours ruminating on worst-case scenarios. My mind magnified every potential outcome, dragging my mood into a dark place. At some point, I remembered the words of the Buddha and realized I was aiming a second arrow at myself, effectively doubling my misery. I closed my eyes, took 3 deliberate, mindful breaths, and imagined that heavy arrow gently dropping from my grasp. Instantly, I felt a tangible sense of relief and renewed clarity. This shift did not solve the external problem, but it freed my mind from needless anguish, allowing me to respond calmly and logically instead of panicking. That simple experience taught me the immense power of mindful awareness in preventing unnecessary suffering. Another key principle we learn from the Buddha is compassion, both for ourselves and for others. Often, the second arrow manifests as anger or resentment when we feel hurt, betrayed, or misunderstood. Yet, the Buddha reminds us that every human being struggles with their own insecurities and pains. If we choose kindness and empathy, we lessen the hold that resentment or anger has on our hearts. Compassion does not mean condoning harmful behavior. It means recognizing that we all walk difficult paths, and that no one benefits when we harbor bitterness. In this compassionate mindset, we diffuse the second arrow by refusing to feed it blame or hostility, thus preserving our own peace and well-being. In addition, it can be extraordinarily beneficial to anchor your day with mindful rituals. For example, you might begin your morning with a short meditation, silently observing your breath while setting an intention to respond calmly and lovingly to any challenges. This practice grounds you in the present and reminds you that you have the power to choose how you will meet the events ahead. Throughout the day, reinforce this mindfulness by taking brief pauses whenever you notice tension building in your body or your mind racing with negative thoughts. Simply pause, breathe with conscious awareness, and ask yourself, am I shooting myself with a second arrow right now? Also, remember to allow space for gratitude. The Buddha gently taught that dwelling in appreciation naturally softens the grip of anxiety and fear. Spending just a few minutes each evening reflecting on the blessings in your life, even small ones, shifts your perspective from distress to abundance. As you become more aware of what is good and steady in your life, the second arrow of negativity finds less fertile ground in which to grow. Finally, let these teachings not remain in the realm of theory but become your living, breathing practice. Right after you finish this session, I encourage you to try a mindful exercise. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply 3 times. And visualize that second arrow dropping from your hand. Feel the relief that arises when you no longer feed or nurture painful thoughts. Experience the subtle liberation in that act of letting go. By repeatedly grounding yourself in this mindful awareness, you cultivate a fortress of peace within you that cannot be easily disturbed by external events. The Buddha taught these truths not to distance us from reality, but to help us engage with it more wisely, more courageously. Do not underestimate your ability to apply this wisdom daily, preventing old wounds or new challenges from multiplying your sorrow. Each moment you choose to be mindful, each breath you take with awareness, each ounce of compassion you show, moves you farther away from suffering and closer to lasting happiness. Today, I urge you to embrace these teachings as a path to living free from the second arrow's harm. Recognize the power you hold within your own mind and your own heart. Trust that no matter what arises in your life, you can meet it with presence, serenity, and unwavering confidence in your potential for joy. My dear friends, as we move further along this mindful path, let us delve even more deeply into the teachings that can help us overcome life's painful arrows, especially those we inflict upon ourselves. The Buddha's gentle reminder is that while we may not control the initial arrow of unfortunate events, we have immense power over how we respond. This realization alone can spark hope and transform the way we experience life's challenges. By mastering our minds rather than being ruled by negative emotions, we step onto a path of liberation, compassion, and renewed possibility. First, understand that the suffering we often endure is not solely the result of external happenings but also of our inner reactions. When anger, fear, or sorrow arises, remember that they are impermanent, like clouds passing across the vast sky of your consciousness. As the Buddha taught, life is filled with constant change, and nothing stays the same forever, not even our darkest moods or most crippling self-doubts. It is our clinging to or magnifying these emotions that intensifies our distress. The moment you recognize your power to pause and breathe before adding that second arrow of blame or worry, you reclaim your strength. Each small act of mindfulness plants the seed of freedom, steadily transforming your perspective on suffering. Next, embrace hope as an active practice rather than a mere concept. The Buddha compassionately emphasizes that genuine change does not lie far off in some distant future. On the contrary, it exists in the small, conscious steps you take every day right now, in this very moment. You may ask, but how can I change when I feel so stuck in the same patterns, the same regrets? The answer lies in realizing that these patterns are not solid, permanent walls around you. They are illusions that crumble the instant you decide to stop fueling them with fear or negativity. Every step you take, no matter how small, carries within it the seed of liberation and the power to change your entire perspective on life. When faced with setbacks, remember that each mindful response, each compassionate thought, and each moment of kindness toward yourself or another chips away at the hardened armor of self-doubt. Even if you cannot see the immediate results, trust that these moments are cumulative. Buddhist teachings assure us that the nature of reality is such that sincere effort, fueled by hope, inevitably leads to growth. Compare your mind to a fertile field. The seeds of positivity you plant now may remain unseen for some time, but they are steadily taking root, preparing to bloom into tangible change. Moreover, never underestimate the power of compassion in fueling hope and possibility. Compassion opens your heart, softening any anger, resentment, or fear that might have lodged within it. When you extend understanding to someone who has caused you pain or even direct compassion toward yourself for past mistakes, you free your mind from the shackles of bitterness. Rather than imprisoning you, adversity becomes a doorway for deeper empathy and insight. The Buddhist path highlights this truth. True strength is not forged by anger or vengeance, but by love and understanding. A compassionate heart sees beyond the immediate hurt, recognizing that all beings seek happiness and liberation from suffering, just as you do. Let us also bring gratitude into this process, for gratitude amplifies hope and brightens your spirit. By acknowledging daily blessings, big or small, you naturally shift your focus away from perceived lacks and fixations on the past. This shift in perspective aligns with the Buddha's teaching of the middle way, the path avoiding extremes while maintaining a balanced, joyful approach to living. When gratitude becomes a habit, negativity finds less room to grow. Instead, hope, resilience, and faith in the good around you steadily flourish. In addition to embracing mindfulness and compassion, I encourage you to remember that you deserve patience and kindness from yourself. Often, we are quick to forgive others while harshly judging our own missteps. The Buddha taught that self-compassion is essential on the path to awakening. Recognize that you are on a learning journey, and it is both natural and necessary to stumble from time to time. When feelings of self-criticism arise, pause and guide your thoughts toward gentleness. Self-compassion fuels perseverance, enabling you to press on even when progress seems slow. Finally, cultivate the courage to share your discoveries with others. When you notice the second arrow of self-induced suffering, gently remove it. and then shine that light for those around you. The Buddha emphasized community and the support we offer each other. By sharing your victories, insights, and even your struggles, you inspire others to embrace hope and transformation in their own lives. This synergy nurtures a collective awakening, a shared growth that uplifts everyone involved. Dear friends, Buddhist teaching reminds us that hope is never out of reach. It rests quietly within our grasp every time we choose understanding over anger, compassion over blame, and love over despair. No matter how challenging your circumstances, no matter the weight of past regrets, remember that each breath, each conscious decision, creates a fresh opening for change. Believe in your innate capacity for resilience. Trust that even the smallest mindful act carries the seed of liberation, bearing the power to shift the entire course of your life. Stand firm in your resolve to transform suffering into wisdom, darkness into light. This journey is yours, and the energy and joy you seek lie waiting in the choices you make today. My dear friends, as we arrive at this final moment, let us remember the essence of the teaching we have shared. True suffering does not simply spring from life's difficult events, but rather from our own inner reaction to them. The Buddha gently reminds us that we all face inevitable hardships, yet we have the power to decide whether these challenges define us or strengthen us. Understanding that our second arrow of pain, our self-inflicted negativity, remains under our control is the key to genuine transformation. No matter how heavy your regrets may feel, you are never bound by them. Each morning, you awaken with the chance to shape your day anew, guided by mindfulness and compassion, rather than being pulled down by worries and fears. Allow this realization to energize you, to fill you with hope and determination. Remember, your true power lies within the choices you make every single day, whether to dwell on past sorrows or to release them with kindness and wisdom. Above all else, please remember the words of the Buddha. Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own unguarded thoughts. Let those words echo in your heart as you move forward. Every conscious decision to let go of anger, blame, or despair is a victory that blossoms into greater peace and freedom. Never underestimate the profound change a single mindful breath, a single act of kindness, or a single moment of self-forgiveness can bring about. Know that your life is far too precious to be consumed by regrets or anchored by outdated beliefs. Trust in your ability to grow, adapt, and awaken to each new dawn. You have come so far on this journey, and each step forward is an affirmation of your strength and resilience. Embrace this final message as an invitation to live each moment fully, guided by awareness, fueled by compassion, and emboldened by the faith that you are capable of profound, beautiful change. The past no longer holds sway over you. Today is your chance to live with clarity, embrace happiness, and walk the path of wisdom with unwavering confidence.